on, and we're going. Ryan Campbell, man, this is cool. Thank you very much for joining me. You're not in Perth. You're not in Hong Kong. You're in the Netherlands. Whereabouts in the Netherlands are you?
Mate, I'm in a little city called Harlem, which
Harlem.
is Harlem, yeah, which is, mate, it's a beautiful little town that we're about 15 minutes from Schiphol Airport. It's about 20 minutes out from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
But it's close to the beach. And look, after living in Hong Kong and the big city, and my wife and I had our fill of big city living. So when we looked to find a place to live, we had a lot of Dutch friends in Hong Kong, and they all said, "Oh, look at Harlem, and mate, we're really glad we are. We love it. It's really family friendly as well. So it's I don't know if your listeners and stuff understand, but with the Dutch national team, training is winter generally we're in Rotterdam, summer we're generally in Amsterdam. Then we've got Utrecht in the city, in the centre of the country. Oh. So there's really three or four real hubs. Yeah. And obviously as the national coach, I'm everywhere. So this gives me a great a way to get onto any highway and get on my way and get the training.
Mate, I've never heard of Harlem in Netherlands. That's kind of changed. It used to be Holland, wasn't it? It's now just called Netherlands, isn't it? That's sort of a recent change.
So mate, I had to ask a number of times. So because I get confused as well, because it's Holland is Holland, but the Netherlands is the whole country. The islands in the Netherlands are way away, and it covers everything. Yeah. Whereas Holland didn't used to. It was sort of North Holland, South Holland. So yeah, the Netherlands. I don't even know if you're supposed to say the Netherlands or when I'm writing it. Netherlands or the Netherlands? Or?
Yeah, does the have a capital T or that?
Yeah, it's confusing.
Yeah, Netherlands. Where are you from? Netherlands. Yeah, that works. But yeah, the New Zealand, the Australia. Yeah. No, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Mate, it's funny. Like I'm a Perth boy. We're the most isolated city in the world.
You are.
And I grew up and I played and did all that sort of stuff. But when I moved to Hong Kong, for instance, I thought Hong Kong was an island. That's it. Hong Kong. Easy.
I've seen it in the movie.
No one told me that England had to hand back Hong Kong because the old lease on the new territories was up, not the actual island. It's the new territories is a massive place, and actually that's where I lived. I was on Kowloon side. Kowloon, it's the beauty of cricket. It's taken me a lot of places and opened my eyes to the world. That's for sure.
It's kind of cool that when you say you're like a kid from Western Australia, massive, huge state, massive area of nothingness, and then there's like Perth, and there's not much else. There's some rocks up the north, and there's some coastline there where they sail some boats on the sort of down a little bit further south of Perth, and there's not much else in Western Australia, and then you end up in one of the most densely populated cities in the world.
Well, mate, I'll take it in another step. I actually, I was brought up in Perth, but I moved to a place called Kowloon for 3-4 years of my life. That's where I really learned to play cricket against men and footy, and worked in the gold mining industry. And that's little, Kowloon is one of those places in Perth, 600 kilometres inland. Mate, it's 30,000 people, but everyone. It's about the gold industry. It's the biggest gold industry part of Perth, but you're talking about backstreet. It's you're living in a tiny little place, and as part of my journey when I was playing cricket, I worked a lot in the media, and one of my greatest jobs that I'll always remember was I was a presenter for Postcards WA. So my job was literally to go see the sights of WA, and it actually made me feel a bit bad because with cricket, I'd been around the world and I'd visited these places. I'd been to New York City, I'd done all that, but I hadn't really experienced WA. And listening to you talk about WA, you say, a few rocks up there. Yeah. But, up north, you go to a place called the Dampier Archipelago or Kununurra or something like that, and it's like, mate, you couldn't pay enough money to visit that place because it's just unbelievable. And there's 3 people. There's no one around. It's this unbelievable coastline and stuff like that. So, I think that taught me that wherever I went, I wanted to know the story about the place, and I wanted to make sure that I experienced the place. And, it's one of the things that, with my team, with the Dutch, it's one of those things. When we go tour, it's, you know, I'm not a coach where it's cricket, lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. Yes, we train hard and we play bloody hard, but you know, it's okay. You've got this afternoon off. You got a day off. Go experience this city. Go experience whatever. Go, you know, training's at whatever time tomorrow. Enjoy it. And you know what? You got to have trust in your team, and you know that's things. But you got to experience where you're at.
You got to develop the players as people, you know, the people into players and players into people, into people that hold status through gaining knowledge, through going and traveling and experiencing cool things. Like, I went to Bangladesh. As a kid, I didn't even know what Bangladesh was, or, you know, originally East Pakistan, if you like. And then I got to go to Bangladesh, and I started reading a lot about Bangladesh and the tigers and the forest and the floods, and it was like, sheesh. But when you're locked down with the New Zealand team in Bangladesh, you can't really. About as far as you can go is to nip across the road to Pizza Hut with a couple of armed guards. So it does make life a bit tough. But you guys with the Dutch, with the Netherlands, you do have that ability to just sneak out and go and explore. And you discovered that while you were working with media stuff, that exploring sort of part of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, for when I was playing for WA, and I was lucky enough to be, you know, in an era of unbelievable Australian cricket. And the West Australian team, you know, people can argue, and I hate comparing eras and stuff, but, you know, we were probably one of the greatest WA teams that's ever been. You know, when you're looking at, and I'll take myself out of it, I was just the opening batter, but, you know, at the other end, there was Mike Hussey, Justin Langer, Damien Martin, Simon Kadich, Tom Moody. We'd slot Gilly in at number 7, you know, things like that. And, you know, so it was very much business. It was, you know what, we flew to every state and we were there, we rocked up, we trained, we came home. You know, you'd see people would say, oh, you got a great life and all that. It's like, okay, I see the airport, I see my hotel, a couple of places for dinner, but then we play and then we come back, and that was it. Obviously, when you then step up, Australia A, lucky enough if you play for Australia, then it goes up, and then obviously you're touring and stuff. But again, then you're in lockdown pretty much, and especially, you know, let's be honest, in today's world, back then, not late 90s, early 2000s, we could get away with a little bit of going around. And then, but then also when I became involved with Hong Kong and the Hong Kong team and the associate cricket world, that kind of then opened my eyes to the fact that, you know what, yes, we may be going to the World Cup qualifiers or something, but we can sneak out. You know, we can go have a little look at the, and like you say about Bangladesh, I had never experienced Bangladesh either until I went with, you know, the Hong Kong in the World Cup qualifier, the World Cup actually, and it was awesome. And that's where you learn stuff, and you know, you can tell your kids, oh well, if we go there, you know, I can't wait to take my almost 5-year-old to India. Now, India gets a rap either one way, you either love it or hate it. I say the one thing to my guys when we go there: you can't fight the system. If you want to fight it, it's the worst place in the world. You got to accept that it's going to be busy. You're going to get probably sick. There might be a good chance of that as long as you're careful. You're going to get peeved off a little bit because people come up to you and this. But you know what? Just accept it. Because if you can brush it off, it's an unbelievable place to discover. And I can't wait to take, you know, my 5-year-old, whatever it is, to there. Open your eyes to the world, mate. This is, you're moaning about too many people downtown Harlem. Have a look how these people live. Have a look at this. You know? Here's a different side of the world.
I would love and hate to put my wife and my two kids in a tuk-tuk, in a auto rickshaw, and drive through Colombo, drive through Bangalore, Mumbai, you know, drive through Dhaka. They would freak out, and it would be the funniest thing in the world, because you've learned to control that experience. Because first time I was in a tuk-tuk in Sri Lanka, oh my God, we died 15 times just going down to buy some DVDs. Like, we died when we got there.
And the facts are, if you hesitate, that's when you do get in trouble.
Well, that's when and it was brilliant, and it was the best fun we'd ever had, was just doing a drive down to the DVD mall, because that's all you got to do in Sri Lanka, go to the mall and buy DVDs. They
Yeah.
weren't,
Mhm.
but that became the highlight of your day because you were stuck in the hotel. But you also got to smell Sri Lanka. You got to, to
Yeah.
see and hear it and beep, 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 and it was madness. And I loved that. But part of when I was growing up as a kid, we were fortunate that had a dad worked for the railway, so they looked after the rail and the ferries that went between the North and the South Island, and they had homes that you could rent to go and have holidays in. And so we travelled all of New Zealand. I've virtually seen all of New Zealand before I even left New Zealand. Went to Australia when I was 16 for a wedding, and I'd seen pretty much all of New Zealand by that stage, and I love it. And I loved
Yeah.
it. And I love that feeling of checking out my own backyard first and
Yeah.
knowing my own backyard and finding places that resonate. And when you were saying, when you were mocking me, mimicking me, whatever, rocks up north and some boats down,
Yeah.
that's that whole checking out your backyard. And it's like, well, yeah, those rocks up north, oh my God, there's no entry ticket, but there should be.
You know the funny thing, and again, there isn't anything funny about what's going on in the world at the moment with COVID-19 and all that sort of stuff. But I think just what we're talking about here, I think that's what's going to happen. The thought of, okay, let's go somewhere, is going to be changed with, you know what, let's experience us. I live in Europe. We can get in our car and we're across the border and you're into, and again, it blows my mind being a Perth boy that we can do that.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's probably first, let's see more of the Netherlands. Let's go on a holiday here first. There, instead of going, we're going to Spain or we're going to Italy or something, it's going to take us an hour, which drives me insane as well, how good it is. But you know what? Instead of our first thought being, okay, we're going on holiday, it's, okay, we're going to experience a bit more of us and our families, ourselves, and where we're living. Let's check it out. Let's find it. And I reckon our first impulse now will be to look within our own where we live.
Yeah, I've got to know my own house over here pretty well in the last few weeks. My own backyard, I got to know that. But it just that feeling of and see, this is as we were talking about this, I was sort of thinking about how this comes back to how we take care of ourselves and how we every now and again we need to sort of have a little reconnection. And I went back to New Zealand a couple of months ago for a month, ended up getting stuck over there, but I had to go back I hadn't been back for 5 years, and I needed that reconnection, that a little recharge. I needed that to go back and just hear my accent, go back and see the seaside, go and see the beaches and the coastlines, go and see the trees, hear the birds. And I needed this like an injection of good. And it was, genuinely for a mental health sort of perspective. And it was like, but it was beautiful. It was so nice. And then the virus and, got a little bit twitchy and a little bit sort of anxious, but it was so good. But the thing about that is that I know I can pull myself back into the middle again. If you get a bit weird, if you get a bit loose, I can sort of suck it back in, and I know what I've got to go and find. Do you have, without getting too, do you have that kind of bit that pulls Ryan Campbell back into the core, that sort of makes you feel, oh, that's me, I'm good again?
Mate, it's to me, it's the ocean. It's a simpler thing because I'm a Perth boy. I grew up by the beach. Every memory that I have, if I wasn't playing AFL footy with my mates or if I wasn't hitting a cricket ball, we're at the beach.
Yeah.
So just that proper blue ocean with proper white sand.
Yeah.
It just, I could sit there, I'd take my wife and back down to my favourite cafe, a little place called Yellow. It's on the beach. She literally looks at me and she says, I'm a different person. Because there's this calmness that comes about you. It's like, this is my happy place. And, I've been, like I say, I haven't left home now for probably nearly 8 years now. So I was in Hong Kong for 5 and now I've been here for 3. Yeah. And I just know, when I was in Hong Kong, it was a lot easier to get home, obviously. And, we would go to the beach there and my wife, this is nice and all, because she's, grew up in Hong Kong. And it's like, LT. My wife's name's Leontina, but we call her LT. So I'd say to her, look, my feet are in the water and I can't see my feet. How is that great?
Yeah.
So, and even here, you know, we're not far from a place called Zandvoort, which is and Bloomingdale Beach is probably 10 minutes away. And, you know, they do the beaches really well here in the Netherlands. You know, there's all these beach clubs and, you know, again, it's a massive shame at the moment because everything's shut, but they'll slowly open where you can have coffee and breakfast. And in winter, they actually do them really well and nice log fires and stuff. And they do it, like I say, really, really well. But like I'm there and you know, the kids love it. They haven't experienced too much of Perth, but, you know, they're digging all that. But LT's same thing. She looks at me and she goes, "This isn't Perth, is it?" It's like, no. It's you know, I love it. I can see you're comfortable and the kids are, but don't talk to me. She says I'm the biggest beach snob known to man, and I am because
That's fun. You
know, when you say about Perth, you can get on the beach and you can go either way for days and days, and you're still on pristine beaches that no one else has been on. It's like, you know, that's me. So yeah, when things are, I find myself when things are tough, if cricket's not going well, you know, the team's in trouble, I find myself just, you know, being on my old photos or, you know, looking up Perth, what's going on, and, you know, just having a look at the ocean. You know, there's some great webcams of my favourite beaches and that, and I'll just sit there on my, you know, 10 minutes before a 2-year-old starts yelling in my ear or something like that. But it does calm me and it does sort of bring me back to think, you know what, it's all okay. I can always, no matter what happens, I can always go home and take my family with me.
And I reckon there's a market, and I know it's already been filled, but there's a market for a massive window-sized TV with next to your other window, your real window.
Yeah.
So you can look outside and you can see real life. And the other one is a crisp, pristine picture of home, live, webcam style, full HD 4K of exactly what's happening at home. Wouldn't be much great because it would be black all the time. It would be dark all the time. When you've got a 12-hour delay, whatever. But I reckon there's just that to be able to sort of look in and look around in the TV and just like, oh yeah, I can see people. I can see, you know, this is that bit that brings me, which that says to me that you have had to bring Ryan Campbell back into the middle every now and again when things are not going good as a youngster, as a going through the ranks, as working your way through Western Australia up to the top team, and then a couple of ODIs, and then did you have to find different Ryan Campbells at different times?
Yeah, like it's pretty well documented that you know, I had a time where I went off the rails. Basically, I was diagnosed with depression, and basically, I had lost focus on everything. Really, everything became too hard, and I'm very much I'm very much like my father. I don't like to talk too much about my issues. I don't like to share my burden, so to speak. But that's my doing. Okay, so that I knew that was one of the things that I learned, that it's not that bad to get your mate or your mum or family, my wife. At the time, you know, it was, I had to speak and talk about things, but to me, nothing. I didn't, and I just kept everything to myself. And one of the, I think it was the off season, I had pretty major knee surgery. And the docs sort of came back saying, you know, as a wicket keeper, I'm not sure what this is going to mean. And, you know, suddenly my career, which had just gone from being, you know, back up to Gilly and you know, when Gilly played for WA, I played as a batsman, so there was no issues. I was always playing. So all of a sudden, not sure what you're going to do. I'm not sure if you're going to keep. And then, you know what, and I'll be honest here, you know, I'd had, like most people, rumblings in my marriage life, and that became bigger. And then everything became bigger, and little things just built up. And then in the end of the day, I exploded. And, you know, I wanted to walk away from the game. I ended up getting divorced. I ended up, you know, leaving home. I just wanted to be on my own. And that team environment kind of, it almost was suffocating me. So, yeah, it was a tough period of my life, but I was lucky enough to have really good people around me. And that's the thing that I know now, is I saw a good person, as in like a professional, And it took me 3 times to get the person that I wanted. So if anyone, thinks that there's a one-stop shop for everyone, that's wrong. So you need to find that click with that person. And he helped me beyond doubt. My coach, a guy called Wayne Clark, who coached pretty much my whole career, mate, he was almost like a second father to me during that time, to the point where I actually lived with him.
Oh, wow.
And so basically we rebuilt everything.
What age is this?
So I'm probably close to 30 by that stage. No, 28, 29. Yeah, 28,
So
29.
married and divorced by 30.
Yeah. So and I was, again, we ended up being divorced by about 32. But
sorry. Yeah.
we met when we were 16.
Wow.
So again, that was one factor of we were just different people. By the time you're 16, it's a great love story.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. The cartoons get it right. It's a great love story. You meet your first love at 16, you get married. And it was, for most of our lives, it was brilliant.
Yeah.
But obviously it ended up going backwards, and that was a lot to do with me. It wasn't anything to her, to be honest. But we were different people by the time it got to that stage. And, so that was one part of my life. But the problem was I couldn't segregate. If I had a bad day at cricket, I couldn't segregate that I had a bad day at home. It was just a bad day. And that was the one thing that I really learned was home life, job, employment life, and then the other family sort of thing.
You know exactly why I'm giggling here, don't you? You know exactly why I'm not laughing at you, but you know exactly why I'm giggling, yeah?
I think you know exactly what I'm talking about, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's, So, mate, look, it got to the point where I was on antidepressants.
Yeah.
And again, so this is the difference between, a lot of people, when I announced it at my retirement, because no one knew until I retired, it was like, well, what have you got to worry about? It's like, okay, that's fine. No one understands what anyone's going through. But I'll give you the
good for you. Yeah, no, it's fine.
Yeah, I'll give you the scenario. The first time that Wayne Clark brings us to the team doctor, says, and our team psychiatrist is in it as well, and they're great people, and they're saying, okay, so doc, we think, the psychologist especially said, mate, I think we need to help him out here. We need to put him on something just to settle him down, all that. First thing the doctor said, and he's a great person, Dr. McCann, my mate, he's a beautiful man. First thing he said, I don't know what that's going to do to his cricket. I don't know if the pills are going to so, because this is the thing, we're in an institution where it's about the team, it's sport.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, okay. So
wait, what?
I don't know if you see here, Doc, but I can't even hold the bat at the moment, let alone, you're worried about me taking a catch in front of first slip off bloody Joey Angel. Yeah. But anyway, so there was those little points, and then I was on antidepressants, and I was on them for about 1.5 years. I hated it. I hated the fact it was almost like, and this is just me, but it was a reminder every morning that something was wrong.
Oh, mate, you've never been a bowler. You've never been a bowler. We took
Yeah,
pills
true.
every morning. We took pills morning after morning.
I love those pills. Don't get me wrong, with the old antidepressant, not antidepressant, anti-inflammatories and all that. Yeah. We get that. But I reckon that was just something in my head. And it got to the point where I got drug tested up in Queensland. Yeah. My name got pulled out of the hat. I was out of there. I said, I'm going. I'm not getting drug tested, because then I have to tell him I'm on antidepressants.
Wow.
And I literally, you could just, if anyone was sort of looking around the room, they just saw me being very quiet and literally got up and was starting to walk. The coach, Wayne Clark, saw me, and he knew exactly what was going to happen. He literally came and wrestled me and said, stop what you're even thinking. I know what you're thinking. Relax. Calm down. Let's talk our way through it. And yeah, we had that conversation, and I went into the drug testers and put down this. I'm on this, whatever. And to me, I felt the guy looked at me and sort of went, "What? What's that? What are you on this for?" But that was in my head. He was probably just reading and going, "Oh well, that's an antidepressant." But to me, it was a big deal. But again, I did the drug test, I got out of it, but I just sort of said, okay, now's we got to stop this. We got to, I was getting better and stuff, but it was a real gunshot moment that it could have gone either way. That, you imagine now, if I walk out of that drug test, I'm accused of being a drug cheat, all that sort of stuff. And literally because I was too afraid to say it. And,
you were too anxious you were too anxious to admit that you had anxiousness and depression. Yeah. It's sort of ridiculous, isn't it? Self-perpetuating, I think that's called.
Mate, I often say that Australian men particularly, and I think men in general, but particularly Australian, probably New Zealand as well, we would rather admit we've got a sexually transmitted disease than we actually put our hand up and say, yeah, we got depression. Whereas the funny thing was that when I announced my retirement, and I just sort of wanted to make it aware that, guys are going through stuff. We have to be aware of players and stuff. Funny thing was, the Premier of WA quit his job a week later, citing depression. And I knew Jeff Gallup at the time, and was, and he literally, we bumped into each other at a restaurant and at some function or something, and he beelined for me and came over to me and he said, mate, I didn't quit because of what you said, but you know what, when you said it and I heard it and listened, it just kind of made me feel a bit calmer. And we spoke, we had a great chat for about 40 minutes. And it's amazing then that once you've come out, you can feel, I feel a sense now where I'm in a room and people who know that what I've been through, you can see blokes coming closer and closer to me because they wanted to get something off their chest. You just tell that, and that's the thing. We just want to share, and once you get it off your chest, it's amazing how much better you feel.
See, this is something I couldn't see a lot of the things in myself going back. So when I was playing, I was terrible in a changing room. I couldn't. Anyone that's watched a few of these, they'll know that I talk about that I was a dick. I was either a dick or I was a joker or a shadow. I was either there and being big and stupid, trying to get a reaction, or trying to just hide away. So I hated changing rooms, and that was the scariest thing. But now I sort of sit back, and having now learned a whole lot more about all of this side of life, not just about cricket, but of life, I see people differently. You see their tics, you see their cues, that you see their anxiousness, manifest in different ways. And it's when you say about people sort of gravitating towards you, I think there is I see you. Like there's a different layer of what you read. I mean, because you're always over analyzing. Depression comes with, there's always two. So typically it's anxiety and depression, the other two that go hand in hand, but there's always two. And I see his anxiousness. I can, we can go and we can kind of maybe help each other out here a little bit. But it's do you find yourself, now you're in coaching, do you find yourself seeing that in people you're around, whether it be within cricket or outside of?
Mate, I think I'm very good at making note of players, especially of like, I think something's going on here. There's, since I've been here, I've had the tough job of also, not retiring off players, but, we had to change captains. Peter Byron, one of the great captains of all time here, long career. I was the one that had to go there and say, okay, enough's enough. Yeah. And there's some sort of players, when you drop people, I remember getting dropped. And how do they do it? So I'm very big on very good communication is everything. You can't just slap someone over the head and he hasn't seen it coming. It has to have been a process, and, the whole thing of, what's going on here? There was something going on with that person, because as a coach, if people ask me what sort of coach I am, mate, I may not be a very good coach at all, but what I am is I know people. And I make sure I'm a people person, and everyone in my squad, I need to know how they tick. And so if we're away all the time and something's off, you know what? I'm going to go up and ask. I'm going to go, or if it's not me, I'm going to get one of my assistant coaches or someone different just to take someone for a walk and just sort of say, hey, what's going on? And it's amazing that person generally goes, oh, thank God. Blah, 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 blah. I'm having trouble at home there. And then it's there, and then it's out, and they go, okay, now we know.
Let's deal with it. a lot exactly like that. I have a, hey Ryan, hey mate, how you doing? No. How are you doing?
Yeah.
When you ask the question a second time, it can't be, oh yeah, mate, yeah, all good. It
Yeah,
can't
all
be
good.
just flipped away. No. How are you? How's things? What's
Yeah.
happening? And I call it, yeah. That's kind of my. If I see someone that has those sort of tendencies or traits or whatever it is, it's the second question style that tends to get them talking, whether it's to me or to someone else. It's like it gives them they've been recognised.
Yeah.
It's like hide and seek, isn't it? You know, tag,
Yeah.
gotcha. You know, you've been found, and
Yeah.
there's some relief in being found because you're not sitting by yourself anymore.
Mate, and you know what? I hate to say it, but you know, when a Glenn Maxwell comes out and says that he needs time away, like, mate, that's a tragedy. Don't get me wrong, that's a tragedy. But you get this sense that suddenly a few other people go, oh, well, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. Glenn Maxwell can do it. Now I can speak to something. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's unfortunate that that's the society we are. But you know what? We've seen in cricket, particularly, you know, some big names go down quite recently,
mm,
and then just need time away and recharge. And I think, to be fair, I think the world is a lot better at coping with that now. It's,
yeah,
you know, I reckon if you and I nowadays, if we were starting and we said, look, coach, I'm actually not feeling that great. I don't want to play today. I'd be like, okay, yeah, no worries. I'll see you in 10 years or
yeah,
never
yeah.
again. It's like, no, what that's, you know, you can bowl through with a knee hanging out or do whatever. But, you know, if you mentally, something's going on, it was like, oh, we don't talk about that. But I think that is one of the great things of today's world that we're getting better at. Don't get me wrong. I don't think we're there yet, but I think in particular, I think cricketing organisations and sporting bodies in particular are getting a lot better at it.
I'm gonna plead ignorance here, Ryan. I did not know this side of you. I like to go into these sort of chats because someone's interesting, because they've done something, and typically
You must be scraping the bottom of the barrel if you got me.
no, because no, you're a cricket nomad. You know, like Australia, Hong Kong, Netherlands, the Netherlands. You know, there's a story in there, but
Yeah.
I didn't know this side about you, so I'm sort of a little bit wowed and feel kind of special feel kind of blessed to be whatever, you know, that you're talking about it like you are, kind of flippantly, which is kind of cool. It's a big site. How are teams now? I mean, you're coaching a national team. You're around other national teams. How are teams aware of players' emotional and mental health? Because I'm cards on the table. I think emotions rule everything. If you can get to sleep, that means you can package your emotions away. If you can get your sleep, that means you can package your emotions away. So I'm a sleep guy. If you can sleep, you're going to be pretty good. If you can't sleep, there's your answer. And emotions dictate your physical well-being because of repair when you're asleep, and emotions then also dictate your mental, because you can't concentrate if you're stupidly tired because you can't sleep. And I have this thing around emotions and care. And how do you see other teams looking after this? Or look, we're still miles behind where we could be, where we have to be. But where are we?
Like, I'll be honest. In the associate world, I think that to address the issues is going to cost money. They're going to have to bring in a sports psychologist or or someone. And I think a lot of the teams get put off because of that, because they think, oh, that's just cost. The first thing they see is that's a cost.
Yeah.
So you've got to try and get through that to say, well, okay, it may be a cost, but what is the cost of our best player not playing for the next 6 months? So, I think
not being able to play at his best for 6 months.
Play at his best, and you're talking about incredible pressures go on in the associate cricket world. I've said this a million times to people. The difference between me playing for WA, if we lose, oh well, it's really disappointing. I'm shattered. End of the world stuff. Here, if we go to those World Cup qualifiers in Dubai when we were there in October, we're coming off the back of winning 3 of 13 T20 games. The pressure's building. We don't qualify for the World Cup at that point. I lose my job. I lose my job. The contract system, big chunks probably going to lose their jobs because we're going to lose our funding. Mate, the pressure of that is intense. So,
and cricket goes massively backwards because you lose all your funding in Netherlands. So it's not just about losing your job. Cricket also goes hugely backwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you are living under incredible scrutiny, but the beauty of it is at the moment, most of the associate coaches, and we're talking and no disrespect to all the other teams, but, we're talking the top, say, 6 to 8, which, you throw in Scotland ourselves, Namibia, Oman, those sort of teams. Now you got the US and all that. But there's a great core of coaches who we spend as much time together as we can, and we talk about this stuff. How are we going to deal with this? How are we, we're on the road where we may not, we've just lost our whole summer. COVID has just cost us our first year in the Super League. We were supposed to have Pakistan here. New Zealand were coming for a T20. We had warm-up ODIs. I say warm-up ODIs, but they would have been really good contests. Oman, USA, and Namibia to lead us into the Pakistan. First time an associate country gets a chance to go up 3 games against Pakistan. You're not happening. Are we going to the World Cup? Don't know. Mate, so is it an issue? Of course it is. And I'll be very grateful that the KNCB, and they've listened, and we've really worked hard to try and help some players because we've had some issues. We've had, a number of players discuss it with us and need some time off. And we're very quick to go, go. This is the person that we've sorted out here. It may not be the right person for you, but this is our guy. We need someone to at least start the conversation with you. So, from here, we seem to be going, well, I'm not convinced when I say all that about the coach that I'm not convinced the Asian countries do it that well. And because I think cricket in Asia, there's an immense pressure that comes more and more and more. I'm not 100% sure how they deal with it. I know, speaking to my players, remember, as the Netherlands, we have, I think, 7 contracted players in county cricket. So Dutch passport, Dutch people who play county. So I only see them, back and forth, and I deal with them over the phones and all that sort of stuff. So dealing and listening to how they go through everything and their systems, I think it's also become very much a prevalent. The ECB are very good at having people in place. So I think that the big countries have definitely got that structure in place. But yeah, look, like I say, I think we've come a long way. I don't think you're ever going to be 100% great because you know what? Unfortunately, this is going to sound cold-hearted, but at some point I have to go, we have to win today. Because you know what? You may not have a job tomorrow. None of us may have a job, but we have to win. So I need my best player on there. And if you can't play because you're no problem, but I'm not going to play you. I need 100% because I have to win. And that's where it gets the cutthroat business of sport is, unfortunately, it's that one constant we can't get rid of because it's win or lose. It's how we live our lives.
Like, when I was playing, I had this thing that I called career day. I'd be going to a match, a game. So with New Zealand, with the New Zealand team, and I would go, and I knew that I'm not good enough today, and I knew that if I failed today, this could be my last day of international cricket. That could be it. If I fail today, if I have a bad day, this could be it. And I had numerous career days where I thought, right, that's it. I think I'm done unless I do have a decent day. So you have that as a coach. It's career day. I have to up and shift, move my family if we lose and I lose my job.
Yeah, mate, it's there. It's there. But what I am pretty good at now, especially with what I'd been through.
Mm.
I say this to my assistant coach. So again, the Netherlands, we're the 12th ODI team in the world, and we go to World Cups and stuff. I only have one assistant coach. So all these teams where I look at Australia with 23 guys sitting on the sidelines, I wonder what they all do. But James and I are very close, and he's from a cricketing family. His dad, Andrew Hilditch, who obviously played for Australia and was a selector for Australia for a long time. His grandfather is Bob Simpson, so he's dealt with that quite a lot. So we're very clear in what we do as coaches. We're going to prepare our team the best possible way. We're going to leave no stone unturned. But you know what? That's all we can do. So on game day, I'm very much one that on game day, I literally lead that team right up to the point that captain goes, tosses his coin. It's straight away. It's, you know what, Pete Saylor, this is your team now. We've done everything we can. So, you know what, if we win and lose, yes, we can pick the pieces out of it. But the question will always be to James and myself is, did we prepare them as best we possibly can? And if we're honest and we say, you know what, we probably shouldn't have done this or we should have done that. But generally, it's some days you go, you know what, I think there's not much else we could do here. Some bloke batted well, so be it. But I think that as long as the planning, and also you've got to make sure that if I walk away from the Netherlands now, because I get the axe tomorrow, people will say, okay, what did he do? What they'll say is, gee, the Netherlands are in a much better position now as when he took over. Because they've got 20 players to choose from. Mate, I used 27 players last year.
Awesome.
You know, when I took over, it was the same 10 every single game. It's like, so what's my role? Make the squads bigger, make them stronger, make our under-19s program really good. And then, you know what, if that doesn't work, at least when you go, I can, as a person, as a coach, I can walk away and say, you know what, I've left this program in a lot better position than when I came. I can hold my head up high, and then I'll have to find a new job. Okay. But if, you know what, if you get coaches, we get sacked all the time. So that happens. And that'll happen to me one day. But as long as I feel that mentally that I've done everything, my wife and I and my family will recover. We'll go, you know what, we did everything we could. But if I take shortcuts and stuff, then it's my own fault.
Okay, all right. Let's take a little detour. Let's rewind it. When you were playing, you said you used to come home and you couldn't separate a bad day at cricket from a bad day at home. You would sort of bring that bad day at cricket into, and it would continue, which then doesn't make for a good person. How do you take a bad day of Dutch cricket and come home? Because I know, look, I look at Ross Taylor and I just think, geez, I wish you had kids earlier, because him coming home to his kids and going back to playing, because he lives in Hamilton, he plays for whatever. He scores 1 million runs at Hamilton at Seddon Park. He just scores bucket loads because he goes home and sleeps with his family, and I've spoken to it numerous times about it. How do you with? I know it's sort of it must always be back in the mind. You know, if we lose, but you have to come home and then be dad again.
Yeah.
But I might be chopped. But I'm dad. But I might be chopped. But we might have to move. But how do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's I think I've got a lot better at it. Whereas, you know, what I try and do a lot. Yeah, right. What I reckon is now is I sort of at the end of a game, and again it's twofold, because I say this in the fact that you're either playing at home in the Netherlands, where I do go home, or I'm on the road where I go back to a hotel room.
Of course, you're on the road most of the time, aren't you? Not a lot of teams tour Netherlands, do they?
There's a lot of I'm in a hotel room, and again I make sure that I analyse the game, probably just at the ground or on the way home, and then if I'm in the Netherlands, what I do is I analyse. But as soon as I stop the car, I turn my phone off, I put it in my cricket bag, and I get out of the car, and then I just have a couple of hours with the kids. Do that. Yes, I'll turn my phone back on, and then I'll answer stuff later. But I try and get that segregation of, you know what, just I need no phone, because you know what, the phones now, it is, you know, I'm curious like everyone. I want to see what people are saying on Twitter about our performances, this that, and the other. But just to give that segregation is really important. When I'm in a hotel, I think it's the same sort of thing where, you know, we analyze myself and James, and maybe we'll have this, you know, our coaches who are sort of, we have Trevor Penny we've had in the past, who's a great consultant. You know, he's obviously joined the West Indies, but James Foster now is on board. Chris Little is our bowling coach, and they're great people. And my coaching structure, when I bring people on, it's about being great people. Yes, of course, it's about having skill set and all that sort of stuff, but they've got to be great people. And because we have to coach players, yes, but we have to coach people, and they have to make them a better person. Because if we make them a better person, they're going to be a better player. So with those sort of guys, I'm always making sure, get to the hotel, and don't take this the wrong way, but I get home, have a shower, we meet straight away in the bar for a beer. And then we, as 3-4 coaches, over a beer, we can just have okay, the anger's off the chest because we've lost, the anger's gone a bit. What about that? And we have just a chat, and I think you get it off you. You don't want to keep it all on you, because, you know, I think it's like every coach, we could go to bed and think about the decision over and over again. But I think the difference between a player and a coach is, as a player, I could go to bed because I played a shit shot and take blame and all that. I don't have that power when I'm a coach. I'm sitting on the sidelines. I don't have control of that player. Am I going to talk to him? You know, Ben Cooper's one of my favourite players here, and he's a good player, but he makes some mistakes. You know, there's been some days he hasn't even got his pads off, and I've followed him and given it to him, literally given it to him. In fact, between us, I've had him in tears, because I want the best Ben Cooper. And there's sometimes, this is the reason, and this is no disrespect to Ben, because he looks at his big brother, Tom Cooper, and thinks Tom Cooper's a superstar. I don't want Tom Cooper. I want Ben Cooper, because I think Ben Cooper's the superstar. And it's funny because he hit the winning runs when we're in, you know, against PNG, when we won the whole qualifiers. He did well against the UAE when we needed to win through to qualify. He's the first guy that I go up to, because I know I've been nasty to him at times about the way he's played. But I'm also the first one there to give him the rub on there and to remind him of how good he is. And that's what I talk about, the being character. It's about not just myself. I know what to do with me generally now. How am I going to look after the other guys and my other coaches? It's, you know, you got to have that conversation.
Oops. Sorry, couple of bits in there. I'm just listening, and I'm completely nodding my head, sort of while you're talking. It's a big part of, like I said before, we started talking. I'm going back to university and to look at to do psychology, and you talked about, you know, you'd love to take a sports psychologist. See, I'm coming at it from a different angle, but then it's exactly what you just spoke about. I don't want to be a sports psychologist. I want to be a psychologist. I want to look at the person, and just you're talking about making the person behind the player, and that's my whole framework is let's look after the person. The player, that'll look after itself. That's a skill set. That's practice. That's time. That's fine. Let's get the person happy, comfortable, confident, or whatever they have to be to be at their best. And that person behind, we're cricket players for such a short part of the day, for such a short part of our lives, but we're people all the time. And if we can get that people bit right, you know, and again, I want to be the guy I wish I had in the changing room. I wish there was someone that could have intervened, if you like, with me and helped me and given me skills to deal with all of those career days, all of those things that eat you up and don't allow you to sleep. And then you're even worse the next day at interactions, let alone at sports, at your job. And I just think we're getting closer. We're getting closer, but I still don't think there's enough love in teams and in changing rooms. I don't think there's enough care. A lot of the times, it's we'll go out there and hopefully he does his job and I'll do my job and they'll do theirs, and it's not, as opposed to a real. It's hard to put words on it, but there's the word love is. It will win games of cricket, and it sounds ridiculous me even saying it out loud, but it kind of will. It really, really will for you. Yeah. So I absolutely love what you're doing with
mate.
It's
to
nice,
chip
mate.
in there, and I do think that associate cricket gives you that more leeway because I feel you're a part of their lives more. You know.
Well, you're all underdogs, aren't you? The whole world's against you guys. Yeah.
Mate, I know everything about all my players because I'm with them all the time, and you know, there's not a big coaching staff. There's just, you know, it's us, and we're, you know, how's Peter Saylor? He's had his first child. Okay, well, I've been through that. How can we help? How do we get there? Mate, you're going to be tired. You're going to be this, that, and the other. We get, you know, we have to go through all that, and I know that big teams will do that as well. But you know, an Australian team, for instance, they have Test team, ODI team, T20 team. There's players coming in and out, in and out, in and out. There's, you know, there's a constant changing of the guard, so to speak. So, I think the bigger you go, the bigger the interest. I guess it would be interesting. I watched. I'll be honest. I watched. I'm a great fan of Justin Langer's. You know, we spent our whole careers together.
Yeah.
I watched the series, the Test, and I was intrigued to see, you know, things about it. Some I thought was awesome. Some I thought was, oh well, that's just JL being JL. But you know, it's interesting to look into their lives, and I do think that people, as sportsmen, we do put guys up on pedestals, and then if they make a mistake, it's like, oh, let's just chop them out. Let's, you know, I and again, this is a bit off kilter, but I remember, you know, when I was playing, I was a kid from the country. I had long hair. I was a dasher. I was this, that, and the other. Like, I didn't want to talk about a cancer organisation or be the name. Every kid should do what I do. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, but I just want to play a bit of cricket.
Mate, and you look at AFL. AFL has done it really well, but AFL has massive troubles because they draft kids at 18.
Yeah.
And that kid from 18 is then taken. Yeah. He doesn't know where he's going to be. He gets drafted, gets sent anywhere. But that 18-year-old, then suddenly he's got to be a great human. He's got to be this, he's got to be that. It's like, oh, well, he hasn't learned yet. Yeah. You know, we're teaching guys as we go here. We're on an international stage, but we don't have a first-class system here. So they go from club cricket to international cricket. So not only are we teaching them some of their skills, some kids have never been on a plane before. So it's like, you know, we got a young kid called Philip Boussavein, who I promise you, mate, when you see him bowl his leg spin, you're going to look at it and you go, wow, we want one of those. He's one of those kids. You hear the legs, you hear it fizz, and it's like that. Mate, the kid had never even been with a girl before. He's never even left the country before. Wow. He's never ever... He literally had not experienced life, and we have to take him. So we literally had to assign one of our coaches
you have to adult him.
We have to, and literally I had his mum on the phone every second day saying, okay, what's he doing? Is he okay? Mate, Dubai, it's a big city. Or we've got him in South Africa. It's, you know, he's seeing sights he's never seen before. But that's also one of the great parts of our job. And I love watching the human grow, you know, that 18-year-old. And when I leave, you know, he might be 25, he might be 20, he might be 21. But I've seen him grow, and hopefully I've made him a better person by the end of it, let alone a better cricketer.
Well, that's cool. I love that. But you still have to do cricket, mate. You still have you still have to give them some cricket as well. And this is so the coaching system over there and the setup is, there isn't huge amounts of money, is there? So how many people do you have full time right now, exclude right now, go back. So you have 2 people full time. So I saw you hold up 2 fingers. So there's you and James, is it, that are full time?
Yeah.
And the rest are sort of consultants, specialists, dip in and out.
Yeah, so we have like a Peter Byron, the ex-captain, has
Yep.
just come on board as a consultant. He'll do probably one session a week with us. Like I say, we have Chris Little and James Foster,
Yep.
who will fly in for games and the big tournament sort of thing. But yeah, that's we got our physio, who is also our S&C, George Dunlop, who does a good job, but he sees the guys quite a lot. But yeah, that's it. That's all we have. We don't have a massive treasure trove to go into. And would we love more coaches? Of course. We have an under-17s coach, and we've got junior coaches, but they're part-timers who are also their club coach and stuff like that. So, when I first started, Enoch, who was the South African coach, well, he was my assistant, and he quit literally 4 weeks after I got here, and it was just before our first series against Zimbabwe. So I had no one. So I was sitting there going, what am I going to do here?
I'll do this, and I'll put those over there, and I'll get this.
Put the cones out, do all that. So in the end, I got on the phone and rang two Aussie guys that were playing in the competition. One was James, one was Corey Rutgers, who's ended up, coaching. I think he's the coach of Belgium now, and he's done some, big T20 stuff around the globe. But it's just, okay, I'm just going to get good people.
Yeah.
See how we go.
Yeah. So going, all right, let's get off this. And as a player playing for Western Australia, pretty much every game's an overseas trip. It's a 8-hour flight, 7-hour flight, and back. It's ridiculous. I find that just absolutely bonkers. I've flown for an hour, and I'm still in Australia. No, I'm still in Western Australia. I'm still in Western Australia. It's madness. What were you like as a player with success? How did you see again? You want this 18-year-old kid to go and experience the world and deal with this and be a role model and be a hero, sure, not a role model. But how did you deal with success? Because we're never taught that. We're never taught about how to deal with success and how to deal with failure. We learn to find out about failure pretty quickly, but success is one we don't do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first thing I'll add is that coming from WA and then having to fly everywhere, my biggest fear in life is actually flying. So that wasn't a great start. But I've been pretty good to get over that. But I was lucky enough to be put into an amazing team. And I'll be honest, my self-giving, so to speak, I never truly felt that I was good enough to be in that team, to the point where I never even filled in my diary that how many games were on during the year, and because I didn't think I'd get picked. Because when they brought me in, I replaced a guy called Mark Lavender, who was just voted one of the 50 greatest ever WA players. I'm thinking, what are we on at? But in the end, I trusted my coach. And one of the great things that happened to me was we were playing Tasmania, I think my third or fourth game, and pretty much got washed out most of it. And then somehow that they declared, and we had a run chase on the last day, and we ended up winning. And I think I spent back in those days most of my time, buddy, at the pub with Gilly, and thinking, well, they're going to replace me in a minute. I may as well make the most of this. And then, but Tom, after the end of that game, literally pulled me aside, and when Tom Moody grabs you, mate, I'm 5'9", he's 6'7" or something.
Yeah,
it's a bit daunting. But he literally, we were in the pub, we were enjoying our drink together, and he grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and put me into the corner. And he sat me down. He said, "Mate, what's going on?" What do you mean, what's going on? I'm having a great time. He goes, "Yeah, I know." And he just said, "What is your fear?" And I actually said to him, "Well, mate, you're going to realise you've made a mistake, and I'm going to get dropped, and you're going to bring Labs back in." And he said, "Ryan, I'm going to tell you now, mate. I don't say this about many people. You are going to win me games because of your dashing style at the top of the order. You and Mike Hussey will be our opening combination for a long time if you do it right, and we will back you 100%. But you've just got to take your foot off the accelerator so much, relax, and enjoy this whole thing. But a few things got to be put in play." But Tom Moody saying to me that he wanted me in his team, it was unbelievable. It was one of those things that just put me on the right steps, so to speak.
Cute kids.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
All good.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that conversation was pretty much it saved me. No doubt it saved me, and it made me what it was. And then we could follow guys like Gilly, and or speaking to those all the way, that they helped you deal with success because they were such great people. Everyone says to me, I should hate Adam Gilchrist most of anyone because I was his backer. Mate, I love that man. I loved him the whole time because he's such a great person, and I think that's what WA cricket was. It was great people, and that's why it was so successful.
Yeah, I spoke to Tom Moody earlier last week, and we almost didn't talk about anything to do with him playing. It was all about like team selection and all about the sort of environment. There was we didn't talk like kind of we are here, like almost haven't even touched on playing cricket. We talk about the peripherals, which actually make up so much more than you could ever imagine. Quite a calm and sort of thoughtful and considered in terms of the era he came from to the man that he is. If that do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he could be just the big, tall, brash brute as a person, because that was his era, and he was quite surprisingly. Well, this is why he's got so many jobs around the world. That he was considered and had recognised the things that were done that could have been done better when he was playing, and he's implementing them now. And it's just like, that's cool. He's like a player's coach as opposed to a coach.
Yeah, definitely. So, and like I say, mate, that's where I learned everything from. Yeah. I learned from him. I learned from Wayne Clark. I learned from the way Adam Gilchrist and Mike Hussey conduct themselves. And my great friends. And again, without just dropping name, my greatest friends are guys like Simon Kadich, who, mate, if you can't learn from someone like him, then there's something wrong with you. So. I was very lucky to be in a time of such great people and great players.
I ended up talking to Simon. So I played a couple of tests against Australia. My my debut was against Australia. Played 2 tests. I got dropped for the third, pretty rightly so. But at the end of the third test, we all went into the Australian dressing room and went and had a chat and had a beer. And I don't do those situations too good, as I sort of said. And it looked like he didn't do those situations too good either. So he was standing by himself. It was like, right, okay, he's the only one. So I'm going to have to go and talk to him. And it was like, and like we said, you sort of recognize the ones that have, sort of a different personality or feel awkward in sort of situations. What a cool guy. What a sweet man. Just, hey man, just everything's not a problem, but such a focused and intense batsman, but just this sort of just a little bit completely different off the side of it. He's a cool guy, and that's awesome to hear that you two are, because he did all right, he did okay. He did all right. So what happens next, man? What's you don't know, but what does happen next in the perfect future bubble utopian?
Okay, so at the moment, obviously it's very difficult to plan because, like I say, our whole summer has been cancelled. We've just been allowed outdoors for the first time in a small group with, so we're actually outdoors playing, training with a small group. But for me, it's the World Cup is obviously a really big focus. If that goes ahead, everyone's hearing different stories. It might go ahead, it might be in WA, it might be in South Australia, places where not being so affected, which would be fantastic for me, obviously. But again, I've got a lot of goals still for this Dutch team that, I believe that this 13-team ODI league is really important. And I think that we can play some great cricket in that and prove to the world that we're really an exciting team. But I guess the goal will always be one day to go home and coach in Australia. It's one of those things that I think as a coach, to be one of 6 state coaches in the toughest environment of Australian cricket, I think would be a pretty good feather in my cap. And they're all county cricket. Again, it's strange even talking out loud about it, because
yeah.
I'm such a Perth boy that I just want to say the easy answer is, yeah, well, we're just going to go back to Australia and this, that, and the other. But I'm now watching my almost 5-year-old and 2-year-old grow up learning Dutch and going on holidays to Portugal, or, you know, we get in the car and we can go to Germany and, you know, go to England or whatever. So, you know, maybe it's staying in Europe. Maybe it's, you know, looking into, you know, trying to get a chance in county cricket or something like that. But what I do know is it took me a while to realise, and I left the game for quite some time, and my media career went for about 9 years or something after I finished playing. But I love the game, and that took a long time for me to realise. And mate, I love everything about it. I love the camaraderie. I love how it teaches people. I think it's a reflection of life. Being in a cricket team, it's just something that I adore, and I hope that I'll be around it for quite some time.
Mate, what a beautiful. Mate, wow. That is. We'll wrap it up. But I did not know what kind of a beautiful person you are, if that makes sense. You know, and the freedom to use those kind of words is quite cool when you sort of you understand yourself and you understand what those words actually kind of mean. And mate, but you're beautiful. That's awesome. That's been such a nice discussion, a nice chat.
Mate, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
There's like, I'm trying to pick a wow moment, but there's no wows. It was just, this was like a BJ Watling innings. You don't remember it, but it was just so damn good. Does that make sense?
Suddenly, bloody 100. It's like, what?
Yeah, this chat was exactly like a BJ Watling's. There's just like, no, I can't remember any high points in terms of, you know, tingles, but it was all just awesome, mate. That was, that's one of the, I've enjoyed that, Ryan. Thank you for your time.
No worries, mate. Absolute pleasure. Hopefully, hopefully, if this Super League gets back in route, we can, we're placing, I think we got New Zealand and a few other teams, so maybe our paths will cross. Where are you now?
I'm in Matlock, which is North Derbyshire.
Okay.
So Peak District, if that means anything.
I love Peak District. I got married in the Peak District, so.
Oh, whereabouts?
No, I knew you were going to ask that question. What the bloody hell is the name of the joint? It'll come to me. I'll text you. I hate that.
Don't tell me it was Chatsworth. Don't tell me it was Chatsworth, because that's a bit ridiculous.
No. My wife's mother-in-law, so my mother-in-law lives in Nantwich, and her brother lives in Holmes Chapel. So her brother rides horses. He's been to the Olympics for the Dutch and stuff. So so they're in that area. And then, we ended up getting married. We got married once in Hong Kong as the official. And then we got married in the Lakes District, the Peak District, up there. But, mate, if we come across, I'll send you a text. And if you're here, we'll catch up for a beer.
Please do, mate. I've enjoyed that so much. Thank you. Thanks again for your time. Go and hang out with your kids and have a good Saturday, man.
No worries, mate.
Cheers.
Take care.
Thanks, my man.
Bye.
Hi, Ian O'Brien here. Thanks for getting to the end of this 108 with IOV. I'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe, please. But also leave us a message down below in the comments about what was your most interesting or favourite part of this chat. Thanks a lot. Love ya.